On Christmas, I handed my parents a copy of the will they had hidden from me. After quietly erasing me from the family photo in their lives, I gave my parents an envelope the next day and warned, "Don't open it here." They did. Mother cried, Dad paled. I wish I could say it startled me. I wish I could say it was shocking, like a movie ending. However, it felt oddly anticipated. After brushing snow off my boots, I looked up in my parents' living room and saw the portrait, large, shiny, properly framed, hanging proudly over the fireplace, like our family's crown jewel. Everyone participated. Mom in her beloved red jacket, beaming like she hadn't spent decades sighing at everything but Sophia. Dad with that weird grin he only uses for pictures and golf course selfies. Sophia, of course, front and center, wearing a beige turtleneck that probably cost more than my rent. Posing candidly like she's laughing at something sweet, maybe a trust fund joke. Then, I was gone. Not even pushed aside, no background blur, just gone. The crop was fine. It was purposeful and clean. I felt like I'd been seamlessly removed from their life, no marks, no roughness, just removed. I stared at it for 4 or 5 seconds, long enough to knot my stomach, but not noticeable. Maybe they noticed but didn't care. Mom called from the kitchen. Dinner's almost ready. Like we were one happy family. Her roast smelled like rosemary and lemon holiday scents. Comfort scents. I loved those smells when they mattered. I entered the kitchen after hanging up my coat and saying hello. Sophia swirled wine in a glass like she was hosting a seasonal pairings program. She kissed my cheek with her air kiss, just close enough to register but distant enough to avoid touching me. She responded, "You made it," like this was her house and I was late to an event. I smiled, the type you give after screaming into a pillow 3 times this month and concluding it wasn't worth wasting your voice. The customary dinner performance. Dad cut the roast like a Hallmark commercial audition. Mom praised Sophia's skincare twice. No one inquired about my health. Nobody asked me what I was doing or where I lived. The only inquiry I got was if I still drove that little car, which means we have no idea what's going on in your life, and we're hoping you'll fill in the blanks so we can pretend we care. I left gaps. A classic gold watch from Mom and Dad was what Sophia opened instead. "Nothing fancy," Mom said, which is funny because I caught the number on the receipt folded under the tissue paper. I'd have to work a week and a half to afford it, assuming I skipped groceries. "Oh my God, you guys," Sophia beamed. "This is just wow. Thought you'd like it," Dad responded, beaming like he'd landed a merger. I got a mug with somebody's favorite daughter, which was probably ironic. Was it? Not sure. I excused myself after dessert, exhausted. Mom offered me her guest room. No, my room. No, your old room. Just the guest room. Beige blankets, dusty bookcase, one fuming lamp. I closed the door, turned on the lamp, which flickered on time, and sat on the bed. I took out the envelope. It was in my bag the whole time, heavy ivory paper, embossed seal. I considered handing it to them in the morning after the stockings, cinnamon buns and performance. But standing in that living room, gazing at that photo, witnessing my entire life erased like a family algorithm error, indeed, I changed my mind. They deleted me, not forgot me carefully, strategically. Maybe I was a lousy brand partner. Turning the envelope in my hands felt heavy. I slept in that night and let the home settle. Same creaky floors, same hall wall clock ticking. Dad snored. Mom said something about bringing the excellent plates tomorrow. Sophia laughed routinely and breathlessly, the Golden Child soundtrack. I closed my eyes. I contemplated the years when I got into my ideal institution. They remarked, "We're so proud," then asked if I might defer a year to help Sophia with her portfolio. When I missed rent and called home, Dad stated, "Things are tight right now," while organizing Sophia's birthday cruise. My boyfriend's name was forgotten at supper. He never returned. I didn't blame him. I was tired of blaming my sensitivity and miscommunication. I quit making excuses. That night, in a strange bed, I would deliver the envelope tomorrow. I wouldn't shout. I wouldn't cry. My voice was silent. I'd smile, say Merry Christmas, and let the truth do what years of silence couldn't. The scent of coffee and cinnamon rolls, and Sophia's voice talking about suitcase weight constraints and travel anxieties roused me up, ironic, as she didn't pay for her travel, luggage, suitcase, or shoes that cost more than my monthly rent. Devastating thing. A prayer. I stayed in the guest room longer than required, since I wasn't ready to return to my family's Christmas sitcom set. I could envision the phony laughter, overblown excitement, and someone, probably Mom, saying, "Isn't it nice having everyone together?" As if everyone included me. As if I hadn't spent the last decade as a fuzzy background character in every family memory. Mom was plating scrambled eggs like she was auditioning for a lifestyle magazine brunch spread when I entered the kitchen. Dad browsed his phone at the table. Sophia drank almond milk from a wine glass, barefoot. Mother said, "Good morning," without looking up. "Hope you slept okay in the guest room. The mattress has a personality," I said, making coffee. She laughed like I was joking. I wasn't. Performing through breakfast was our usual routine. No catching up. No one asked about my employment, how I was doing, or if I was still living in that small apartment with the squeaky stairs. I wasn't. Sophia discussed her planned trip to Barcelona and how lucky her parents were to support her goals. I nodded like a seat filler at an awards event without speaking. They didn't detect the envelope in my coat pocket. It would follow. Instead, I thought about everything that led up to this point. When I graduated high school, I received a partial scholarship that allowed me to work part-time. I recall sitting at the kitchen table with documents spread out and begging for a little help. Mom looked at me like I wanted to pawn her wedding ring. Dad mentioned tough timing and we're still catching up from the bathroom remodel, which included Bluetooth-enabled bathtubs and heated floors. Sophia got a new automobile for her 18th birthday. 2 months later, white leather seats, custom stereo, bow on top. She said they were the nicest parents ever and cried when they gave her the keys. I stood next to the recycling bin with a $20 bill in a "You're Going Places" graduation card. You know what? I departed for college, took 3 jobs, slept 4 hours a night, ate too much instant ramen, graduated with honors, relocated to a new city, started anew. I never asked for anything else and they didn't offer. I didn't call after being laid off 2 years ago. I didn't ask for help paying for my doctor's medicine when I was sick. I didn't ask when my flat flooded and I lost most of my furniture. I made do with a Craigslist old mattress. Sophia shared sponsored Instagram stories from Santorini. Sometimes I wondered if it was me. Maybe I was tougher to love, more guarded, less shiny. Maybe I should have joined a sorority, smiled more, and worn beige. If I had played piano instead of diner shifts, people might have noticed me. They may have discovered I needed help if I hadn't made things so easy, always independent, always fine. But then I remembered my 8th birthday. I invited 6 kids and cooked cupcakes. Mom forgot to pick up pizza, so we ate saltine cheese slices. The event ended early since Sophia had a dance recital the next day. They said, "We'll make it up to you next year." Never did. Or my state science competition win. The school called home to inform them. Nice job was their final text. No supper, no framed plaque, no mention again. Sophia got a little role in a shampoo commercial, so they hosted a party with balloons and a future star cake. So, no, not me. Never me. The change occurred earlier this year, not really looking for it. A local records office was where I went for unrelated address evidence for a job application, administrative stuff. I saw a document with my name on it tied to an unfamiliar property address. I initially believed it was a typo or a similar name. Curiosity always spirals. I investigated. Several well-written emails, requests, and searches. The deeper I went, the tangles increased. There were unspoken, buried things. I'm the center, not immediately. I didn't confront anyone as usual. I watched and observed. Now I wasn't helpless. I had paper evidence. The more I discovered, the more tranquil I felt, like I'd been underwater my whole life and didn't realize it until I came up for air. They exploited me, not forgotten me. My name writes quiet. I had something to make them listen. The morning after breakfast, I changed upstairs. I took time, allowing them to congregate around the tree, exchange gifts, and enjoy their festive glow. They were partly unwrapped when I arrived. Sophia opened something pricey and pretended to be astonished. Mom had that misty gaze she saves for sharing. "You get any sleep?" Dad said. I grinned. Enough. He nodded and watched Sophia admire her fancy tote. I sat silently, took the letter from my coat pocket, and placed it on the table with the coffee mugs and crumpled wrapping paper. No one noticed. Not yet. They would. Everyone notices eventually. Too late. They saw the envelope 10 minutes later. Mum noticed because, God forbid, anything sit on her reclaimed wood table without coasters, ceremony, or purpose. It seemed like a misdelivered bill or wedding invitation to her. "What's this?" She asked the room. Not me. I took another drink of coffee and said, "That's from me." Dad looked over from where he was tearing up wrapping paper, perhaps hoping something had fallen beneath the tree. "You didn't have to get us anything," he replied, beaming like I gave them a stupid phrase mug. "I know," I answered. "I wanted to." That caught their attention. Mom sat down, turning the envelope. "Should we open it now?" I shrugged. "But I'd rather you didn't." Obviously, they opened it. Father glanced over her shoulder as she broke the seal. For a moment, it was just paper slipping free and pages crinkling. Sophia carefully folded the handles of her new designer purse like a newborn named after a French city. Silence broke up, thickened. No need to glance up. I could feel it, something between realization and nausea, like realizing your coffee's milk is sour after swallowing. Dad exhaled with his nose. Mom was skimming quicker now, flipping to the second and third pages like she could outpace her reading. Sophia gazed. "What is it?" They remained silent. She tried again, louder. "What's going on?" Still nothing. That was my signal. I figured it was time you knew. I stood slowly. "Merry Christmas." Mama eventually inquired, "What is this?" Her voice was calm, not furious or confused. "That," I add, "is a copy of Grandpa Arthur's will." She blinks. "I've seen his will. We handled the estate." "No," I answered. "You handled what you told me was the estate. You never showed me the full will. Just said he left a few keepsakes and some cash that went toward funeral expenses." Staring at me, he blinks too much. "That version didn't mention the rental property in Old Briar," I said. "Probably because you were already collecting rent from it by then." Dad dropped the papers on the table like they burnt him. "Where did you get this?" "Oh, you know," I said. "Public records, title searches, tax filings, archived emails, a couple of phone calls, a very patient lawyer." Sophia finally stood. "Wait, what rental property?" "The one by the park," I asked her. "The one you used for that photo shoot last year?" "Yeah, that one." She opened her mouth but said nothing. Mum started speaking again. "Sweetheart, this isn't what it looks like." I grinned. "That's funny because it looks like you used my name, my inheritance, and my legal rights to fund your lifestyle, while telling me there was nothing left for me." "It wasn't like that," she rushed. "It was complicated." "It wasn't," I said. "The will is extremely clear. The house was left to me, sole beneficiary, full title transferred, which means all that rent you've been collecting technically stolen, and the renovations unauthorized." Dad scratched his temples like this conversation was causing a headache. "I hoped so. I knew you wouldn't understand," he murmured. "You're always so dramatic." It made me giggle. "Right, I'm dramatic. You edited me out of a family portrait and committed inheritance fraud. But sure, let's blame my tone." Sophia was perplexed, as if someone had pulled the rug out from under her and she hadn't fallen. "But that house paid for my tuition." "I know," I answered, "and the car, and the Mexico trip, and probably a few handbags along the way." Her words were, "That's not fair. You didn't need it. You were always the independent one. You never asked for help. Because I was told there was nothing to ask for. I add, you made sure of that." Mum's voice became gentle and delicate, like when she returned something at a boutique without a receipt. "We didn't think you'd want the responsibility. You were busy. You were always so far away." "I was far away," I add, "because you made it very clear I wasn't welcome here." Chair pushed back. "Dad, you need to calm down." "And you," I continued, facing him, "need a lawyer." He froze. "I'm not suing," I said, "yet, but I've officially reclaimed ownership of the property. The tenants have been notified. Rent payments will now go to me. Your access to the house is revoked." Mum looked tearful. "But that house was our income. We depended on that." I tilted my head. "Then maybe you shouldn't have stolen it. We're family," she muttered. "No," I answered. "You're people I used to be related to. There's a difference." Sophia crossed her arms. "You think this makes you better than us?" "No," I answered. "Just not beneath you anymore." The silence wasn't peaceful, loaded, dense, quiet, that made your ears ring. No one moved. No one breathed. Dad regarded the envelope as if it might explode. Mum's face relaxed. Sophia looked like she needed a pinch to wake up. I grabbed my coat. "Wait," Mum stood. "Can't we at least talk about this?" "You just did," I said. "For years. Every time you made a decision without me, every time you left me out, every time you told me I'd understand someday." Dad clenched his jaw. "If you leave now, don't bother coming back." Standing at the entrance, I looked at them one last time. "I think that's the first thing we've agreed on." Then I left. The air was keen, cold and clean. It hit my lungs like a reminder that I was alive and standing. I got behind the wheel, started the engine, and drove. I didn't weep, didn't smile, just breathed. Sometimes the strongest statement is silence. Walking away is sometimes the loudest shout. 3 weeks elapsed before the first message arrived. Mum's short, polite, polished message seemed like she'd rewritten it 5 times and wasn't sure it would work. "Hi, sweetheart. We've been talking, and we think there's been a misunderstanding. Can we chat sometime this week? Hope you're well. Love you." No punctuation, just love you in the wrong place. I remained silent. Another 2 days later. "Please don't let this one thing ruin everything. Sophia is very upset. Dad's trying to stay calm, but you know how he gets when he feels blindsided. Unless he commits fraud, not after years of lying to his daughter. No feel surprised, poor guy." So, I remained silent. Dad left a voicemail. I didn't listen. I erased the notification after staring at it. He last called me kiddo when I volunteered to help him set up his retirement account. And he remarked, "Let's leave the money stuff to people who understand it." Right like him. Then followed the email. "You really think this makes you the winner? Fine, take the house, but don't come crying back when you realize money doesn't buy family." The next day, Mum and Dad are really stressed. They're talking about selling the condo. "That's what you wanted. Congrats." That one I read twice. Not because I felt horrible, but to understand how much my property loss was affecting the family finances. The house underpinned everything. Rent from 3 units paid for their home, vacations, Sophia's education, and even really good skincare. When I returned it, the machine stuttered. I hadn't even requested back rent, not yet. In spring, mutual acquaintances whispered. A neighbor said Mom and Dad were refinancing their condo. Another said Dad had started consulting, which meant cold calling past clients to see if they owed him a favor. Mom worked weekends at a downtown store she used to buy at. She ordered yoga clothes for influencers, perhaps thinking it was temporary. Sophia, living at home again, city apartments were too pricey. Customers stopped. It was unclear if her art collaborative disbanded or imploded, and I didn't care. She raised $83 on her new creative chapter GoFundMe. $2 came from my ex-boyfriend. Why that detail made me laugh is beyond me. I repaired the house my home. At first, it was dusty and neglected but solid. I had a contractor touch up the paint and replace the windows. Most of my parents' furniture was donated. I kept one chair, a navy blue armchair I faintly recognized from childhood, the only one without strings. Kind tenants. After I cut their rent by $50, one of them wrote me a thank you message, saying I was the first landlord who treated them like a human being. That meant more to me than my parents' rehashed apologies. It's funny what you notice when the noise stops. Though heavy and personal, the silence becomes peaceful, like space to stretch. I stopped checking my phone hourly. The next guilt trip no longer worried me. Sleeping through the night began. I got a note in my mailbox one afternoon, a genuine letter, not an email or text. Mom wrote the front. I waited a minute before opening it to remember the occasion, not because it was sincere. Her perfume permeated the envelope. The best part was, "You've always been so strong. We didn't realize you needed anything from us." That's what people say when they benefit from your silence and need an excuse for never asking why you stopped talking. She said, "We hope someday you'll come home. Maybe we can start over. Maybe we can be a family again." No restitution statement. The stolen wealth, deceit, and being cropped from the family portrait like a bad ex were ignored. The letter went in a drawer. I kept it. No response either. That was her final direct contact. I met my former neighbor at a bookstore 3 years later. I grinned and stated I was still handling the property. She paused before responding. "I hear Mom and Dad had a rough time of it." I remained silent. She nods. "Well, you look happy, that's good." And I was. I am. I live in the house, not out of necessity or spite, but because it's quiet. I own it. Birds and sunlight replace footsteps outside my bedroom door, and passive-aggressive comments about how I never call. Rebuilt backyard garden, repainted front steps, windowsill plants thrive on sunlight and minimal expectations. I have a photo of me holding the keys in front of the house on my mantle, no one else visible, just me. This is my favorite shot because no one was cropped. I occasionally hear from them, one Christmas card simply, "Thinking of you, hope you're well," no return address. I didn't reply. Interestingly, I'm no longer angry. I'm not seeking justice, closure, or an apology. My name, place in the world, and story are mine, which they never gave me. I thought if I worked hard and earned it, they'd love me like Sophia. Real love doesn't have to be earned. You freely give it. They gave me conditions. I gave me everything else. No, I don't miss them. I don't replay talks. I don't expect dramatic reunions. I don't imagine a flawless apology that fixes everything, as I fixed it. No bow or benediction came with my life. It came from walking away, doing the hard thing. It turned out I only needed that present.